Hello, good day, everyone. My name is Ryan Evans. I'm a certified master level astrologer with the Stephen Forrest School of Evolutionary Astrology. However, I have studied with a large number of astrologers across the spectrum, and so I like to think of myself more as an integrative evolutionary astrologer as opposed to subscribing to one particular school. Today, we are going to talk about the Pluto return of the United States and your and my potential role in that adventure. So, ready to jump in? Ready or not, it's here before us. We are on the doorstep. So, before I jump into exactly what my perception of the Pluto return for the United States is, I want to preface all of this by celebrating Pluto, the Lord of Darkness, also as the most essential power in our archetypology for deep shamanic healing, reclaiming, rebirth, renewal, transformation, and resurrection. So while some of the things that I might say here may point towards the deepest shadows possible for an individual entity or country, be it known that it is my MO to always find a way out, to always find the redemption, to always look towards the positive, even if it's the tiniest candlelight a million miles away, to still turn our attention, turn our focus to that small bit of light. And amidst all of the darkness we may be surrounded by, continue to walk towards that light. So as I talk, and definitely in the second half of what I'm going to be talking about today, we'll be talking deeply about what that light is and how you individually and myself individually can have a positive, the best of all positive effects on this current adventure that the United States and its inhabitants are finding itself in. So returns in general. You have a birthday. We call that a solar return. The sun comes back around every year to the exact degree and minute that it was at the moment of your birth. We celebrate this. It's a new year. It's rebirth. It's starting over. It's another lease on life. And that solar return sets the tone for what to expect for that year. We have Mercury returns. We have a lunar return every month. We have a Mars return every 2.2 years. We have a Uranus return when we're about 84. We'd have a Neptune return if we were lived to be about 165. But Pluto returns, we individually aren't necessarily going to have them unless one of us finds some magic potion or fountain of youth or takes flower essences regularly. So these Pluto returns happen, though, for countries, for civilizations. for businesses that last 242 years. But returns in general, what's so important to think about when we talk about returns is phase relationship. And it's so very easy to describe in terms of lunar phase. The sun and the moon come into conjunction, we have a new moon. Happens 13 times a year. Then at the first quarter phase, think of the moon as a seed germinating. At that first quarter phase, that seed pops out of the ground, says, "Woohoo, I'm alive." At the full moon phase, the opposition, it's like, "Woohoo, I'm alive, I'm fully incarnate in this world, and is this it? Okay, well, I guess it's time to start letting go." We start to let go, accept, surrender, release. We come to the third quarter phase. The moon, the seed, it goes back to the earth, back into the archetypal, the magical, the mysterious, the otherworldly, the dark, the primal. And slowly that seed comes closer and closer into conjunction with the sun. But as it does, what's actually happening is that the moon is farther and farther and farther and farther and farther away from the sun. 340 degrees, we're still really, it looks like we're really close to the sun. We can almost call it a conjunction. 350, 355 degrees. It looks like a conjunction, but again, the moon is as far away from the sun as it can get. And so this waning phase, this is a time of release, of surrender, of letting go, and acknowledgement of what the whole cycle has been about. We do this every new moon. For those of us who are more ritualistically inclined, we have new moon ceremonies where we imagine the future, we release the past, and here we are caught in this magical, nebulous place between past and future. This deeply balsamic time. This is where the United States is as a country, as an entity is right now in regards to its Pluto process. So returns, when things come back around, we have to accept, deal with, face, engage in order to disengage everything that has happened in that cycle, lest we carry it with us into the next cycle. And that's where we are now. The United States and all its inhabitants, and those countries, entities, individuals who are closely aligned with this country. We are currently in a balsamic phase relationship, transiting Pluto to the natal Pluto of the United States. So Pluto. So let's look at this first astronomically. We start with the sun, right? The essence of being. We live in a solar system. We don't live in a Pluto system. While sometimes it seems like everything can revolve around our Pluto process, everything revolves around the sun, not Mars. They're important, but it revolves around the sun. So that core essence of being. We have our inner planets, the way we perceive the world, Mercury, Venus, what we choose to attract to us, and Mars, the things we need to go get. Then we cross this hazy band of archetypes called the asteroid belt. Mars has to find the courage to make the leap to Jupiter, find the courage to align with our mission and our purpose. And as soon as we can do that, we're there in the transpersonal planets. Find our mission and purpose there with Jupiter. And then we come to Saturn and we have to make it real. My mission and purpose is to learn how to fly. Well, that's wonderful, Jupiter, says Saturn. Have you mastered the art of aerodynamics? Certainly you have yet to invent an anti-gravity device. But Jupiter wants to fly, and so Saturn will teach Jupiter very quickly the realities of the situation. But then, wow, what happened? Uranus was discovered, shook up the whole system, created a little trauma, a little chaos. We had some revolution, both American and French, at the time of the discovery of Uranus. Wow, what else is out there? Neptune, oh my gosh, Neptune. By the time Neptune was discovered, we started to collectively imagine that we could connect with a greater power. We didn't need a priest to do it. We didn't have to go to a Latin-only mass, wondering what it was they were saying in order to, feel the Holy Spirit. We could do that by walking in the woods. We could do that by sitting at the sea and opening to the transmissions from the greater universe to us as we asked those big questions. What is the meaning and purpose, and how do we all blend and work together in harmony and in compassion? Neptune represents all of these magnificently beautiful spiritual places that we know as humans that we are capable of being. We know that we are angels incarnate. But in order for those transmissions to be clear, in order to open up to our great potential as humans, in order to feel the interconnectedness of all things, we have to pass through Pluto, the gatekeeper of the next hazy band of archetypes, separating us from the rest of the universe. So if we want to, or we have an inclination to, or feel like it is our part of our birthright to have like happiness and enlightenment and connectivity, inspiration, creative downloads of whatever the next great thing in our life is, then there's Pluto there saying, hey, what have you not looked at? What have you shoved aside in the processes of the evolutionary journey from the sun to Neptune? Oh, maybe we had a little lie there in Mercury. Oh, but that's not a big deal. Okay, let's go on to Venus. And maybe there was a little manipulation there in Venus. Oh, push it aside, Maybe with Mars, we got a little angry and, oh, it's okay. We don't need to ask for forgiveness. Maybe Jupiter, we took it a little too far, or Saturn, we were a little too harsh or controlling, or maybe Uranus came along and we couldn't deal with the trauma. We pushed it aside. Neptune, maybe we just forgot to deal with some stuff. And so the way spirals work and gravity works is, we let go of these little pieces, these little fragments of us that we have not integrated into ourself, and they're pushed aside. Where are they pushed? Into the garbage can of the solar system, way out there in the Kuiper belt. Oh, we've got a little trauma, push it out there in the Kuiper belt. We don't have to deal with it now. Oh, we made a little mistake. Oh, instead of apologizing for it, oh, let's just push it off into Pluto. It'll take it. Yeah, Pluto will definitely take it. Pluto will take it until the time comes where we have gotten to that point in our evolution that we're ready for those transmissions from spirit or beyond or creative intelligence or the mystery or the universe or whatever we want to call it. We're ready to connect. We're ready to evolve. We're ready to grow. And Pluto says, not so fast. You forgot to deal with that little Mercury lie. And that Venusian manipulation back then, that needs some awareness. Remember that fear, that anger that you impressed upon someone? Yeah, you're going to have to own that, etc. And so Pluto was, given a pretty challenging and difficult job by having to be strong enough to put stuff in our face no matter how dark it is, no matter how ugly it is, no matter how we've shunned it, no matter how we've pushed it aside and tried to forget about it. Pluto is always going to say, if you want the healing, if you want the redemption, if you want the enlightenment, you want the connection, you want the love, and you better deal with this thing that smells. It's under the carpet, under the rug, under the couch, under the rug. You're gonna have to do the work of lifting up the couch and peeling back the rug, and oh geez, it's an old apple core and it's kind of melted into the rug. Oh, and we got to do the work of cleaning it, and it's not necessarily glamorous. Oh, look, old rotten apple. Oh, isn't this the most wonderful thing in the world? Said no one ever. But the beautiful thing is we jump into it, peel it back, extricate the rotten apple, and the smell is gone. Wow. And then we can have friends over. And we cannot be totally embarrassed by the fact that there was the rotten apple under the couch in the first place. So Pluto's purpose is to help us understand and realize all of the rotten apples in our existence, so as to take those rotten apples, throw them in the compost heap, turn the compost, add some water, and walk away for a minute or a month until the next time the moon is in Scorpio. And then we go back and we turn the compost pile again, walk away. And we go back and we turn the compost again. We go to therapy. We call our astrologer. We say, what am I going to do about my life? And we look at our darkness, look at our shadows, and do what we can to redeem ourselves in that. And we walk away and we come back, go back to therapy or the astrologer. Interesting how they're interchangeable these days. And say, oh, wow, that rotten apple is slowly turning into some really rich soil. Look at the worms eating it. Look at that aerobic bacteria breaking it down. Wow. That took some effort. That took some awareness. That took some engagement in something that was like the most uncomfortable thing in the world. But I engaged it, and now I've got all this delicious, yummy soil to put under my apple tree. And Pluto smiles. And Pluto says, thank you. Pluto says, I know that was not the easiest process in the world, but look at what you have done. You have taken the smelliest, grossest stink in your house, and you have transformed it into nutrient-rich soil. And so that's the Pluto process that we all undergo in our lives. That's the adventure that we all must undertake, again, if we are to have a clear transmission between us and spirit, us and creative intelligence, us and however we choose to define the great mystery, capital G, capital M. So here's Pluto now in balsamic waning phase with the natal Pluto of the United States. I used the Sibley chart, July 4th, 1776 at about 5:10 p.m. in Philadelphia. But it doesn't really matter which chart because Pluto is about at the same degree no matter what chart you use. So the timing here, the timing is consistent regardless of the chart. So the balsamic phase of Pluto to Pluto, and you can kind of guess where I'm going here. All of the darkness, all of the shadows, all of the hatred, all of everything that our United States of America has done in pushing things off. Oh, invade a little country, that's okay. Interfere in an election in Central America, we only did it 20 times in the 20s and 30s. You know, it's okay. Push it off, push it off, push it off, push it off. But I will contend that the United States is a country with incredibly beautiful, powerful potential. In the Sibley chart, the north node of the moon in the United States chart is in 8th house Leo, with the ruler, the sun, in 7th house Cancer. If I were to do that reading for an individual, I would say to that individual something to the effect of, you are here to heal. You are here to find your radiance and shine and be an example of joy and love and celebration and happiness for the rest of the world. You just have to go through your shadows. And so here we are. There is no question that the shadows of the United States are up. So yes, there are themes happening with this country up for the next couple years, if not decades, and has been up for the last decade with this country. Themes of transformation, themes of death and rebirth, themes of power used correctly or incorrectly, Plutonian themes of confrontation and awareness with our shadow. And so collectively, we have to think about what this means for our country. What's going on? How is this looking? How is this up for us? Well, Pluto likes to talk about the dark side of all things. And Pluto is in Capricorn. And so we like to talk about the dark side of all things Capricornian. So allow me to list some of those. And these are the realms in which we individually must engage our own lives and have an understanding about what we are each doing individually and how that affects the collective. So what is Capricorn about? Capricorn, an earth sign. Capricorn, the manager, the boss, the leader. Capricorn, all things system related, all things functionally related, all systems, all structures, all rules. The patriarchy, daddy, daddy's rules, daddy's laws. So Pluto in Capricorn has so lovingly showed us the dark underbelly of all things Capricorn. Capricorn, conservatism. Pluto in Capricorn has showed us the dark side of conservatism. And not to get too far in the future, but when Pluto goes into Aquarius, we will see the dark side of all things liberal. So, just be it known, be it known that I have spoken, that just because we're seeing the dark side of all things conservative right now does not mean that that liberalism in and of itself is the redeemer. It will come after Pluto has its way in Capricorn, and Pluto will have its way. All things unconventional, all things, again, politically liberal. Aquarius, we will see those dark things too. But in the meantime, anything that the United States as a country has put out into the world in terms of shadows, astrologically, according to these calculations, it comes back around. So that might sound a little scary, especially when we consider all of the shadow things that our country has actually engaged in. We are guilty of slavery. We are guilty of genocide. We are guilty of setting up dictatorial regimes in third world countries, if not second or first world. We are guilty of abuse of power. So if our country is to continue, it is imperative that those in this country who have an ability to exert an amount of power, it is imperative that those individuals have come to an awareness of these shadow forces. So think of the economy. How has the United States used, manipulated any other countries out there for their resources? Well, I could think of just about every war, at least this century, has been about resources. And if we think back, we know our history, everything. World War I, World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War, Gulf War. They were all about resources. Afghanistan, all about resources. So while perhaps those in our country have said we are spreading democracy and we are doing all these really great things, if we know our history, we can see pretty easily that the quest to spread democracy was more about not letting other people have the stuff. So that's kind of a bitter pill to swallow for many patriots in this country. You know, we like to think that we are the good guys, and we like to think that all of our deeds have been noble in thought and action. But again, Pluto says, hey, there's a few things here that you're not looking at. Do you remember those smallpox blankets that you gave out to the people whose country you were taking over? No, we can suppress, repress, and deny that, but again, it's Pluto's job to bring that which we have suppressed, repressed, and denied out into the open. So, militarily, has our country done anything dark or shadowy? If so, it is imperative for the healing process of this country to find awareness and make whatever amends it can in order to step into the true destiny, which I believe is possible for this country, which is being a healer, actually, for the rest of the world. So, well, what else? We have the economy. That's ruled by Capricorn. And we like to think back at what was going on maybe when Pluto was discovered in 1930. Oh, yeah, there was a Great Depression happening. In fact, we were kind of balancing between, you know, who do we support? Do we support Hitler and Mussolini? You know, there could be a fascist takeover of the world. Well, let's just sit and wait. Let's just sit and wait. We sat and waited there before World War II. Sat and waited for a whole long time, trying to see which way the pendulum was swinging. Again, if you were to read your history, there were many in the United States government at the time that were sympathetic to fascists. So we have to be very, 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 very careful and very, very, very aware if any of those possibilities, any of those inclinations are popping up nowadays in our economy, in our government. Are we on the verge of a fascist takeover? Let's face it, I mean, business does kind of run this world, and you know, many of our wars have been to, at the very least, protect our business interests abroad. In fact, dare I even say the word plutocracy? Oligarchy? People with the money have the power? Well, welcome to the dark side of Pluto rearing its ugly head. Hey, everybody, look at that. See some fascism coming in the United States? Anybody with strong business interests in control of the United States as president of the United States? Oh boy. So here's Pluto, balsamic, the dark shadow underbelly of Capricorn showing itself very obviously. How about this one? Capricorn is an earth sign. Now, coupled with the planet Uranus transiting through Taurus, another earth sign, together they make up a whole big delicious bowl of earth unrest soup. There are fires all over the planet. My dear friend and moderator of this here group survived fire. I myself, 2 weeks ago, 200,000 acres burned 7 miles south of me. The earth is pretty upset right now. The earth is not really happy with the way we humans have been messing our nest. Of course, the earth will survive. It survived dinosaurs and asteroids. It will survive Fukushima and Keystone pipeline ruptures. But she's upset. And she is making it very, very aware, making us very, very aware of the imbalances regarding our activities with her, with nature. There are agricultural messes out there, GMO genetic drift. People are beginning to win cases against Roundup and its cancer-causing properties. All we have to do is look around and we see all of this stuff coming to a head. The earth is pissed. The economy is, ooh, it's really great for some. It's really, really great for some. And it's good for a lot of people. Oh, it feels like we might be right on the edge of something. And all we have to do is be on one side or the other of the aisle in our government and to see that it is a big puppet show. So the earth is not happy. The economy is pretending to be happy. The government is not happy. Our military presence in the world does not make a lot of people happy. What else? About social unrest. Now, personally, I have my own opinions as to what is going to happen in the next presidential election here for the United States. But regardless, if liberalism wins, then all things conservative are going to be very, very, very upset. And if conservatism wins, then all things liberal are going to be very, very, very upset. There isn't necessarily a nice place where everybody can kind of agree on some things because we are so incredibly polarized. And this polarization is being felt so strongly throughout this country. I, personally, am a redhead with long hair. I was walking down the street the other day, and I was called some names. Yes, here in 2019, I was called a bunch of names I will not repeat here just because of the way I looked, by people who were actually a little older, I would guess, than me. what the heck? Haven't we evolved past that? I mean, really? Really? No, of course we have not, because all of the darkness that we have pushed aside is not going anywhere until we deal with it. Welcome to the Pluto return. So we've got all of this darkness coming to a head, yes, globally, but centered specifically on the United States of America and its being and presence in this world. We're seeing the dark side of all things Capricorn, the dark side of economy, the dark side of military, the dark side of government, the dark side of insurance companies and all structures, rules, and systems on this planet, in this country. So what are we going to do about it? What's the hope? What's the way out? Is there a way out? What can we possibly do? Well, according to psychologist Fritz Perls, consciousness is curative. So the very first thing that we are here to do is to become aware of all of this. Now, the worst thing we can do after we become aware of all of this is to hide and cower and, go into our little caves and pretend that there's absolutely nothing we can do about it. But what is really important here, especially again for those of us who are born, living in, or have direct connection with the United States, is that all of this is in us. All of these dark underbelly, dark side of Capricorn themes, they're in us in some way. They percolate up in our chart in some way, in some fear or some powerlessness or some rage or other. And so we are at a time right now, especially with the upcoming conjunction of Saturn and Pluto and Mercury and the Sun and Ceres, all here mid-January of 2020, that this is a magnificent time for us individually to do our healing work, to reintegrate fragmented parts of ourself, parts of our being, parts of us that we have shunned in our lives, things that we are not able to admit may be holding us back. And so how do we have an effect on the outcome? Well, let's take a look, shall we? Little journey of the United States Pluto return through the houses. So on, where's my notes here? On November 12th of next year, Jupiter, transiting Jupiter conjoins transiting Pluto at 22 degrees of Capricorn. And so I want to celebrate that moment a year from now as a time between now and then, that we have this incredible opportunity to do this work that I'm about to describe. That as we do this work, we can individually have an effect on the potential outcome of this adventure. So If you know your chart, look at where 27 degrees of Capricorn falls in your chart. February 19th, 20th of 2022 is when the Pluto return of the United States is exact. These slow moving planets, though, we've been feeling it for a while. We might feel it for months or years after this date. This time between now and 22, so incredibly important because of the balsamic nature of this phase, this time to release, this time to let go, this time to really engage in this healing process wholeheartedly. Because when Pluto conjoins the natal Pluto of the United States, it's the potential for rebirth. It's the deepest potential for healing. So let's do this work between now and then so as to make that moment most beautiful, redemptive, most beautiful redemption possible. So if you know your chart, try to find 27 degrees of Capricorn. If that falls in your first house, it is your duty to reclaim your personal power. Not knowing your biography or what's going on currently in your life, maybe you felt disempowered. Maybe you feel this surge of energy and don't know where to put it. Well, this is your work. Your work is to ask yourselves, what has wounded my ability to step into my personal power, to make really creative, loving choices for myself that have a trickle effect on helping inspire other people. So you have Pluto in the first house by transit at this time. You have an opportunity now, your work now, your effect on the country is to step into your role as leader. It is your destiny, if we are to use that big word with Pluto. So understand your power in this world, understand your effect that you have on other people. So take a look in the mirror and ask yourself, how do I find my power? How do I reclaim my uprightedness? What in me has to purge in order for me to be the best self I can be? Master that, you're having a positive effect on this process. So you have Pluto at 27 degrees of Capricorn. It will, when Pluto hits 27 Capricorn, it will be in your second house. This is a time for you to reclaim your self-love, reclaim your ability to prove to yourself that you have the necessary resources with which to engage this world in a powerful, loving way. Your destiny is to feel safe and feel strong and be a resource, be a healing resource for other people. So Pluto in the second house, if you do this right, you can look around at your life and be incredibly grateful for what you do have. And you can be incredibly grateful for what you have learned and what you do know, and you can build on that, and you can continually prove to yourself that you can re-empower yourself with whatever resources you need in order to get the job done, in order to feel safe and secure in this world. Because ultimately, you're here to be an inspiration for other people in their healing. Say you have Pluto transiting through your third house. It will be in your third house when it's at 27 Cap. This is a time to reclaim your voice, your ability to speak with power, speak with truth, even if it is incredibly uncomfortable. Say you have natal Pluto in the fourth, and well, it would be impossible to have Pluto transiting your third. But I just think of maybe you need to speak up to mommy or daddy or brother or sister or boss or friends and say, hey, this is what I think about this. This is my point of view. And maybe that has scared you intensely. But if you can reclaim your ability to speak with power, to speak with authority, you fulfill your destiny as the truth teller. And you report to us the facts, no matter how uncomfortable they may be. Henry Thoreau said something to the effect of, I went to the woods in order to observe the world, and if it proved to be mean, why, to get the genuine whole and meanness of the world and publish its meanness to the world. Or he said, if it proved to be sublime, why then to be able to give a true account of it in my next excursion. So your job with Pluto in the third house is to be able to give a true account of it, no matter what it is. Say Pluto at 27 Capricorn ends up in your fourth house. And perhaps there are some things in the depth of your psyche, in the depths of your psychology, that are ancient and gross and muddy. It is your job to jump into the submarine of self-exploration and go deep, deep down into yourself and recover and reclaim whatever was lost in that past. If you can pull this off, then you reclaim a deep psychological wisdom that is transferred into the heart. And then with that deep knowledge, you can be there for other people in a loving, healing, supportive way. You have Pluto in the fourth house there. You're here to be a light in otherwise dark places. Or perhaps Pluto shows up in your fifth house at 27 Capricorn. You're here to reclaim your joy. You are here to reclaim your ability to know that your destiny here is to be a powerful representation of what it means to transform, what it means to heal, what it means to reintegrate and reclaim fragmented pieces of yourself. And so to express that into the world through your art, through your teaching, being a healthy parent for your children, so very important. With that, you have a powerful effect on this world. Pluto shows up at 27 Cap in your 6th house. You are here to reclaim your mastery. You are nobody's slave. You are not here to be subordinate. You are here to master the art of daily life, of human existence, and to be a representative to others as to what it means to truly, fully be human. So you play your cards right. This process over the next couple of years is about reclaiming your healthy routines, reclaiming your healthy rhythms, reclaiming your relationship to your body. Because your destiny is to be a masterful servant in this world, passing the torch of wisdom. This is how I was able to heal my Lyme disease here. This is how. And if anyone wants to know how, feel free to send me an email asking me how I did it. So maybe you have Pluto showing up at 27 Cap in your 7th house, and maybe that world and all the people in it are scary as all heck. I'm not going to trust anybody. No, 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 no. Other people? No, no thanks. No thanks. I'll just hide in my little cave. Instead, no healthy expression of Pluto. And to trust the fact that your destiny is to have a powerful transformative effect on other individuals on that one-on-one basis. Pluto in the 7th house, maybe your therapist, maybe your healer. And it's time to really be in that place where you are able to share that truth. So heal the deepest parts of yourself, that's all. And we're back. Not sure what happened there, but glad you're back. We were talking about Pluto in the 7th house and how important it is to understand that if Pluto shows up at 27 degrees of Capricorn in your 7th house on February 19th, 20th, 2022, then you are here to come out into the world powerfully as shaman, which is also what we would say about if you have Pluto at 27 Capricorn in your 8th house. It is time for you to reclaim your healing power and to not allow the darkness to hold sway. You have Pluto at 27 degrees Capricorn in your 8th house. You may be on a journey taking your proverbial one ring of Sauron back into Mordor to throw it back into the fires from whence it came. That is not an easy journey, but I can guarantee that if you can pull that off, if you can see that journey through, not only will you be free of the weight of that ring, but you will also have a ripple effect on all of those in your immediate existence. And if you have connections with others on deep levels, that you will affect them greatly as well. So you have Pluto at 27 Cap, February 19th, 20th, 2022. in your ninth house. It is time to reclaim right now, reclaim your faith in the meaning and purpose in this universe, that there is meaning and purpose in this universe. In fact, when you and as you find that with Pluto transiting this house, then you are here to be the truth teller and the preacher, to share with all of us the good word of what it means to redeem oneself, what it means to transform oneself, what it means to heal oneself. It's right there before you. It is a big journey. But again, if it proves to be mean, publish the whole and genuine meanness of it to the world. And if it proves to be sublime, tell us about that too. Say you have Pluto in the 10th house by transit. It is your duty to reclaim your powerful mission in this world, your purpose, bringing up truth from your deep unconscious and saying, oh my gosh, I have this incredible power and it is my destiny to be a powerful force in the world. Maybe as boss, as manager, as leader, or otherwise. You can have an effect on people you don't even know. All you have to do is just overcome your fear of the man. That's all. Because you can have a large effect on people you don't even know if you do this healing. Say you have Pluto transiting your 11th house. Another big effect, because that the focus of that Plutonian energy, when you can reclaim your ability to trust and engage the group, you can then have a destiny of symbolizing something really important and powerful to the group. Pluto in the 11th house, I have no friends. Well, maybe I'll join an organization that has deep meaning for me. I'll join Greenpeace and save the whales. Well, that could be a very powerful, very transformative, very healing thing for you. And say Pluto shows up at 27 degrees Capricorn, mid-February 2022 in your 12th house. And you might say to yourself, I have no connection with spirit. I have no creative juice. Those hobos on the street, they should just get a job at McDonald's. Well, the real process here is the reclaiming of compassion and understanding that you have incredible vision. You have incredible creative power. You have incredible spiritual power. And it is your job to work through all the mud and slush that may be keeping you from that. Because if you pull this off, your destiny is to be a saint. Your destiny is to be someone who shows the rest of the world that it's possible to go through the darkness, loss, suffering, whatever it is, and still retain your power and your wisdom. So to the degree that we each individually do our work, some of us, our work is very much in the world. Some of us, it's standing up as the good boss, as the good leader, as the good teacher, as the good healer. In order to do those things, it's necessary to do all of that healing work inside first. And so that's what this time is, this balsamic phase, that Pluto is in right now in relation to the Pluto of the United States. All of the dark shadows that are in that have been pushed aside for almost 250 years. It's time to heal them. And we heal them by each of us individually saying, okay, what do I need to do for my healing? And then have that percolate out into the world, into this country. So if we do it right, we can have a positive effect. Otherwise, if we choose to do Pluto or not choose to do Pluto at all, then all of those shadows, all of these shadow attributes of Pluto will show themselves until we get it. So let's do what we can to get it. Anyone have any questions or comments?
Ryan, there's a question in the chat. Can you see it?
Yes, I can. It'll square my natal Mars and Scorpio in the 10th house. How do I navigate that? Whenever we look at, so the question here is Pluto transiting through the 1st house, squaring a natal Mars in the 10th house. How do I navigate that? Very, very, very carefully is how we navigate that. Whenever we look at Martian forces combined with Plutonian forces, we're looking at an incredibly volatile potential here if we do not engage this as consciously as humanly possible. We can devolve into everything from hiding, taking energy and stuffing it deep down into ourselves where, oh, I won't find it there in my pancreas. Oh, I won't find that rage or frustration. I won't find that between my shoulder blades. I'll just stick it there. So anytime we're looking at a connection between Pluto and Mars, especially in a square, without this turning into a whole big reading and not seeing the rest of your chart, it comes down to this one word: courage. Now it sounds real easy, right? Oh, courage. Courage to be in your power in the world, courage to be a leader, courage to speak up when nobody else, feels strong enough to speak up. It sounds real easy. This being a square between Pluto and Mars, we're looking at one of the hardest things there is to do because of the passionate, volatile energy. We want to rage, we want to explode. Mars and Scorpio, oh my gosh, you looked at me the wrong way? Have you ever seen a scorpion's tail? Well, you won't see it coming with my Mars and Scorpio. So the energy with which the desire to lash out, or concurrently and conversely internalize that, is so great. So the navigation is to start small and put yourself in very scary situations. Oh, I'll go back and visit my grade school where those people used to pick on me, and I'll just walk down the hall. And I'll be in my power walking down this hall. Okay, and now I'm leaving. And so we reclaim a little bit of our power where there was in an area where my energy was taken from me. All right, I've got a little more power that way. Now maybe I can work on telling my boss that they're full of poo and that everything needs to change or else I'm out of here. Okay, well, that might be a little scary. What else can I do? Maybe I'll jump out of an airplane with a parachute. Oh, and I'll find my courage and my power that way. So however this is percolating up into your biography, oh, Pluto squared Mars 1, the 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 suggestion comes down to the same thing. You are an incredibly powerful force in this world. You are here to hold people accountable for their stuff, and you are here to be an impassioned leader. So whatever steps that you can take to set yourself up in that place, to be in that place, whatever work you can do to encourage yourself will be the very best thing you can do. Because, like I said, the alternate energy here is fear, is internalizing the energy, or lashing out at things that don't need it. So focus your energy, focus your power, focus your strength on transforming that which needs to change.
Thanks, Ryan. We have one more question.
Yeah.
Do we have any examples of another country that went through their Pluto return? Of course, the older countries like England, every
Yes.
248 years. So,
Yes.
okay, go ahead.
Yes. There are two that I can think of off the top of my head. The Roman Empire and the country of Britain. Now, I don't have the specific dates in my head, but I do remember from research a couple weeks ago when I first started considering this topic, was that every time there was a Pluto return in these countries, there was either a severe, hardcore, intense shakeup in those countries, or they crashed. Maybe they were reborn. Sure, Britain's been reborn again a couple of times. The Roman Empire, where is it now? Alive and well in Vatican City? They've changed forms. Now, what's going to happen to the United States? Civil war? It could happen. Martial law? It could happen. Civil unrest at the very least? Sure, it could happen. So the hope is that only that which needs to be thrown in the compost pile gets thrown in. And we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, as they say, because there are so many beautiful, powerful things about this country. There's so many individuals in this country who have as their MO a desire to heal and help and be sustainable and treat the earth well and engage in positive agricultural practices and really work towards a political system that works for everybody. And again, the way Pluto works is if we can't get it consciously, it's going to happen at a darker level. So my hope is, again, that we see this as an opportunity for us to individually make changes in our own engagement with our healing, so as to mitigate the potential negative effects. And again, to your question, the countries that have gone through this, the Rome and the British Empire, my recollection, and I'm only going from recollection here, is that it did not necessarily bode well for them. Light bulb, boom. There was an article in the Mountain Astrologer, I believe this month, on the United States Pluto return. Perhaps the author of that touched on those. We'll have to check it out and see.
So Ryan, would you take one last question?
Yes, most definitely.
Okay, Elise, you can go ahead.
Hey Ryan, I wrote my question out, so I'm just going to read it written out because it usually works better that way.
Okay.
So I personally have definitely been going through this darkness and having it right there to face me. And it feels at times like looking into a black hole, and I feel afraid to engage with it because it feels like there will be no way out or that I'll lose hope. And I'm wondering, what's the anchor point astrologically, and what do you do to stay anchored in your strength and joy while doing this work?
Whew, not a tiny question there. So in order to answer that accurately, where is Pluto transiting your chart now?
Placidus, it's second house.
So what is the anchor point between when we look at the second house, eighth house polarity? We often look at the polarity point of Pluto to find a way out, or in this case, an anchor. Here's the way out. The way out is, as I was describing with that journey through Mordor, the only way out is through. Astrologically, you have to jump into the black hole. You have to jump in to that place. So therefore, Pluto in the second house, it is imperative that you gather to yourself and you gather to yourself all possible resources, that you gather to yourself all possible skills, tools, and techniques with which to engage this journey. The best way I can describe this is an unshakable self-love. Nowhere in this do I say this is easy or simple. In fact, this is one of the, well, let's face it, everything is one of the hardest things there is when we're talking about Pluto. But the reclamation of feeling safe on the edge of a black hole, that's the work. And so to do things, concrete, physical things that prove to yourself that you have the strength, that you have the power. You go into the therapy session and you talk about your deepest, darkest stuff and you get it out on the one hand. On the other hand, say take whatever fear you might have. Like I used the example earlier of, oh, I have this wound that goes all the way back to being in second grade when the teacher said this one thing and all the kids laughed at my answer. Well, I felt disempowered. I felt like I was not worthy. To go back there to actually go back to that place and stand in a place of strength and self-love in that place. Oh, you're reintegrating a fragmented part of yourself. Now here's the next step. For the deepest, darkest places, oh my God, the fear of safety, the fear of annihilation, the fear of death, all of these second, eighth house polarity places, I highly recommend for anyone going through this a process called deep memory process that Patricia Walsh is pretty much making famous. A process of soul where whatever those hidden fragmented parts are, where we have no hope, where we're looking into a black hole, where we feel like we have no strength, where we feel like we have no reasons, I highly recommend, since I'm recently trained into it in this, calling me up or somebody else trained in this, to really go on a journey and find what those fragmented pieces are. Because if we think about like a lot of this Plutonian work, some of it doesn't make sense. I feel like I love myself, I feel like I'm worthy, but I'm going in, as you say, I'm going into the depths of my darkness and I feel like it's a black hole and I feel hopeless and I feel like I don't have strength. So how do I find the anchor? A lot of that, I will contend, and this is just my opinion / experience, is that in past that these experiences that we had that fragmented these parts of us. Oh, there goes my self-love. Oh, there goes my personal power. So I could sit here all day and say, hey, you need to jump out of an airplane to prove to yourself that you have the strength to follow through on going through the scariest thing in your life. So go jump out of an airplane. I could fragmented pieces of your soul, right? And so it's those fragmented pieces of soul that we individually and frankly collectively are needing to reintegrate. So looking at the edge of a black hole, afraid to engage because there's no way out of the potential insanity, it looks absolutely hopeless. From a use your tools, use your positive thinking, you know, use all of those resources that you've been gathering since you started on this journey 6 or 12 years ago or whatever. But it still doesn't address the demonic healing that is necessary, especially again for anyone with Pluto in the 2nd or 8th house, because we're looking, whenever we look at any relation with that 8th house, we're looking at some deep ancient stuff of us that has been fragmented away. So it is so so what do I want to say? Hardcore shamanic journey, reclaiming the parts of the fragmented soul that make one feel that they are on the edge of the abyss without any hope. It's that come to me are, that's not right, that's not who you are, that's not the truth of your being. The truth of your being is magic and power and beauty and truth. That's the truth. This other stuff is somehow some I don't want to say lie that you bought into, but an untruth that you took on in place of this part that was somehow fragmented out. So you're looking to, astrologically speaking, with Pluto transiting the second house, reclaim that feeling of safety, reclaim that feeling of being grounded and solid and whole as a human on this planet. So that requires a deep 8th house shamanic journey, and maybe more than one, maybe more than 5, maybe 6. But for sake of discussion, doing anything that you, right now, doing anything you can to remember your tools, remember your gifts, remember, reclaim, and use the tools and resources that you have, because I would guess that you have some. And in the meantime, there's deeper levels of work that need to be done. And if you're interested, we can work on that by calling me up at www.ryanevansastrology.com.
Wow. Just
Any
great.
other questions, comments, or otherwise?
No, lots of comments, but they're on the Facebook page. Lots of really positive comments. This has been a very inspired meeting, hasn't it?
Thank you so
Great.
much. Brilliant.
Okay, Ryan, are you still there? Oh, Ryan?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are.
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I am here.
Okay, great. So we're going to wind down now.
I am
Thank
here.
you.
Can you hear me?
Can anyone hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Della. All right, Ryan. Well, thank you so much, and we'll catch you next time. Would you all please thank Brian, everyone?
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. It's an honor and a joy to be here for you.